We are back. Your boy Tommy D, back in the attic, back in the attic again. The show is Philanthropy and Focus. Your friend, the one and only, and I know it's one and only because I made it up, the one and only nonprofit sector connector. Although I have told you lately, I have been deputizing other nonprofit sector connectors. Maybe there's a training course on how to be the nonprofit sector connector. I don't know, but I'm having a good time with this. I always tell you, the show, let me go back. Philanthropy and Focus, Tommy D, nonprofit sector connector. We did all that. Now, let me tell you a story. I always tell you I got to go up a bunch of flights of stairs to get to the attic. And I'm a little bit out of breath right now, not because it was a lot of stairs, but because there was a yellow crock that was stuck at the attic door. And I kept trying to close the door, and I didn't know there was a crock there. And I moved the yellow crock, and then I closed the door, and it got stuck again. So that's why I'm a little flustered, and I'm a little excited. Neela, good morning. What's going on?
Good morning. It's Friday morning, so
it is Friday.
TGIF. It's been a week.
100%, 100%. We got a lot to cover today. What a very special conversation and important organization, which we will get into. I promise you, that's what the show is all about. Here's what I need to make a shout out to two of my colleagues and business partners in a new venture for us called the Philanthropy Network of New York. Yesterday, we did the first ever unconference. It was out there in Comac at the Hamlet. We had about 200 people and dozens of vendors, and it was all about choosing you. And I got 3 or 4 pages of notes. We had some incredible speakers. The Philanthropy Network in New York, for you all who don't know yet, look, it's the newest thing that I'm involved with. It's so on brand. When I met my 2 partners, Liz and Kim, I'm going to shout out our website in a second for everybody. But when I met my 2 partners in this venture, what they were doing, they were only a couple months into creating and hosting these events. What we do is it's about corporate social responsibility and volunteerism. So for-profits, although nonprofits as well, can become members of our organization. And by paying a membership fee, their employees get the opportunity to go every single month, sometimes more than once a month. We have events where they can go and do volunteer days of service for nonprofit organizations. We were at the North Shore Animal League. We've done some work with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Long Island. Just most recently, we were doing some beach cleanup. We have another beach cleanup event. It is summertime, so we're doing beach cleanup with Long Island Beach Cleanup on August 14th. We played mini golf and brought my dad with the Italian Ices. Shout out to Dad, Ralph's Ices in Huntington. But we brought the Italian Ices out to DDI recently and had like a golf event with the folks there. Just incredible stuff. But Philanthropy Network in New York, we did the big event yesterday. It was such a success. Thank you, Liz and Kim, for the vision. Thank you for being my partners in this venture. I appreciate you both. And if you go back a couple weeks, everybody, you'll be able to catch the episode where Liz, Kim, and I were on the show, and that's a lot of fun. So we'll leave that there. But I always have to shout out the cool stuff that's going on. One other quick thing I'll mention. I was not aware of the organization called the Federation of Organizations. However, I was at their golf outing. Our friend Hassan Maksud was the honoree at the golf outing. So we played 9 holes at Smithtown, Stonebridge in Smithtown. So that was a good time. So this is just it. What does a nonprofit sector connector do? Basically this, just go hang out, make friends, make new connections, build relationships, smile a lot. Sometimes he sings. Anyway, you never know. So Neela, I'm going to look at it. Mukherjee Lakel.
Mukherjee Lakel.
But when we practiced it.
Mukherjee Lakel. You can do Mukherjee Lakel.
But when we practiced it, I had it before.
Yes.
Like we're live. We are live right now. This is the show. I screwed it up. So you say it, and then you say it first, and then I'll say it second. You say the whole name.
Neela Mukherjee Lakel.
Neela Mukherjee Lakel.
Yes.
Mukherjee Lakel. See, gang, sometimes you got to practice. Sometimes you got to practice in the middle of the game, apparently, because that's what we're doing right now. Neela, I told you we're going to have some fun. I think I've threatened to get you on this show for only a couple of years now. Shout out to Chris Kelly, because I originally met Chris Kelly in the background, and I had said, you were on a panel discussion with Dr. Jeff Reynolds. This is going back, maybe it's a year and a half ago. It was, I don't know if you remember this panel. It was about, it was around mental health. It was when the governor had just, it was, what was it? Was it HIA? No.
It was, LIA, and it was about mental health.
It was about mental health. And now it's just so, so interesting. Like I did a panel discussion a few weeks ago about mental health and had 4 leaders of nonprofits. And now I'm going to ask you right here on the spot. They just asked me to take that same kind of thing I did. Jeff McQueen was there. Yolanda Rabano Gross was there. Well, these are, veterans of Philanthropy and Focus. But I was asked by a colleague of mine to speak at the Nassau County Bar Association to do a panel on mental health. So be cool if you would. Yeah, I know. Again, not that I'm the speaker. I'm the MC.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That sort of deal, the moderator. So maybe you want to do that with me. It'll be
That would
sometime.
be great.
Yeah.
I would
All right.
love
It'll
to
be
do that.
sometime in the fall. We'll work out all the
Yeah,
details.
yeah, yeah. That'd be
I don't know
amazing.
I don't know if you remember the movie, and I brought this up a bunch of times lately, but I'm like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Terrible about movies, you should know, but
You good about movies or not?
no, I'm not. I'm the
All right.
opposite. Let's
This
try
one,
it. Let's
well,
try
let's try this one. So there's a movie called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. All right. So in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, people are probably tired of hearing me say this, but if you're just checking in for the first time, this is all new to you. So there's this end of the movie where Charlie has the everlasting gobstopper and he was going to sell it to Slugworth, and Slugworth was going to give him a bunch of money for it because he wanted to steal Willy Wonka's secrets. And Charlie, being such a pure, good little boy, brought back the everlasting gobstopper. And Willy Wonka goes crazy. Charlie, you did it, my boy. You won my factory. You are now going to be the new factory owner, right? The whole thing. And he says, Charlie, don't ever forget what happens to little boy who gets everything he ever wanted. And he says, what happens, Willie? And he says, he lives happily ever after. And I'm living in one of those worlds. I used to chuckle when people say, I would say, how you doing, man? They go, living the dream. And I go, really? Is that what you wanted to do? Is that the dream? I'm actually in that. I have 4 wonderful children, a wonderful wife. Everybody's healthy, right? And I get to play all day, right? And then make these relationships, connections, and meet people who literally are on the front lines changing the world every single day. Whether it's veterans-based organizations. Last week we took out Sail Ahead. My friends Killian and Sean founded that organization, the Duclay family. We took veterans sailing out of the Seacliff Yacht Club. They do that every couple of weeks. They bring veterans sailing. I took 4 Dramamine and I made it through the whole sailing. Neela, we barely were in the water, but I was like, I need more Dramamine. But
But you are committed, and I
I was
love that.
committed. I was
Yeah, yeah,
committed. I was in, and that's a special organization. But that's where I played connector because my friend Eric is on the board of directors at the Seacliff Yacht Club. I play connector and I scoop Italian ices, and I didn't get sick on the boat. Like a good day.
yeah.
So that's my life.
It was a good day. Right.
It was a very good day. So let's do this. I want to know, and you and I have talked about this, like this is you and me having a cup of coffee. Just a bunch of strange people watching us have a cup of coffee. Go away. Leave us alone. We're trying to have a cup of coffee. Tell us the story. I told you earlier when we spoke, I used to watch this program on A&E called Biography. It was a great program. I recently we were up we were up in Hershey, and I remember years ago we stayed at Hershey, and they have like on loop they have the Milton Hershey story. Like you could just watch it, and I would watch it like 7 times when we stay in the Hershey Lodge
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's fun. It's a great story. I like stories. So Neela, in that regard, as the leader of EAC Network, you weren't always the leader of EAC Network, where I always was Tommy D, but I wasn't always a nonprofit sector connector. So I really want to start with I always like to understand why nonprofit, why social services, what was it? Oftentimes there's some kind of catalyst. Maybe it was somebody's family, their upbringing, maybe they had met a teacher. What was there something in your case, or were you just always a great person and you just knew you wanted to change the world?
My parents are immigrants, and they, worked very hard. They came here with very little. They worked very, like, they lived the American dream, right? But along the way, they helped and supported family members, communities, initiatives. Like, it was just always a part of how they lived. They didn't
Mhm.
really talk about it, they
Mhm.
just lived it. And when I was younger and thinking about what I wanted to do when I grew up, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, right? But I knew I was going to be I was going to be working at legal aid. I was going to be working with on behalf of children who had been abused. I didn't know exactly what it was called at the time, but I knew I wanted to go into like that kind of
Oh, social
save the world.
justice, right?
Yes,
Right.
save the world law,
Yeah.
right?
Right on.
So I go to college. I think I start as a poli sci major, and then I start working at a local youth shelter, at an emergency shelter, just over the summer one year as I'm staying there. And I stayed there. I worked there year round while I was in school, and I worked a lot. Right, it was a part-time job, but I could take as many shifts as I wanted. I worked a lot, and I learned so much. But the thing that I learned was I learned about this profession called social work, right? Like I didn't know social work as a career path when I was growing up, right? So I'm also daughter of Indian immigrants. So I was going to be a lawyer or a doctor, or I had a couple of very clear set
Yeah, it was all
paths.
figured out. It was pretty much figured out for you, right?
Yeah, right. And so I couldn't stand the sight of blood, so naturally I was going to be a lawyer, right? So I told my parents I wanted to switch to become a social worker, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" But I was in it, right? Like I found my calling. I knew sort of what bucket I wanted to be in, what world I wanted to be in. So I stayed there. I came back to I'm from New Jersey. So I came back to New Jersey, was working in the city. I worked at a variety of different places, but a lot of my career had been working with very high risk young people, right? Young people who are homeless in various systems, very street involved, gang involved,
Wow.
young people, and from 12 to like 25 years old, right? I'd done a couple of other things working with, in HIV and AIDS and in homelessness, but really mostly with youth. And it was amazing. I became a social worker. I did clinical work for a little while, and I burned out of that. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It really took a lot out of me, and so I love clinical social work. I love all that work, but I cannot do that stuff. And I realized I was a better administrator. Right?
Hmm.
So I moved out to Long Island at some point. I started working on Long Island. I actually, EAC Network, which is where I am now, was my first job on Long Island when when I stopped working in the city. So I
Where?
was
So let's go back. So where? So you were? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Jersey,
Okay.
and I went to school up in Maine,
Okay.
and I stayed up there for a few years working after college, and then moved back to New Jersey, and then met my husband, moved out to Long Island, and this is sort of a lot of my career path was also a result of moving a little bit. So
So I want to. So I'm looking at, and it's funny when you look at somebody's LinkedIn, and there's like two college level things, and you're not even at when they were at undergrad yet. You gotta love students, right? I actually had a bracelet on. I took it off. Why did I take it off? I had one of those rubber bracelet bands on that I got yesterday at our event, and it said "Never stop learning." And
yeah,
I always, I wasn't always a great student, but I always liked to learn, So when I look here, so it goes back to Bates College. That's in Maine, I assume, right? That's what
yeah,
you're talking about. So child abuse and neglect, a BA child abuse and neglect, and then you went to Fordham, go Rams, right?
yeah.
Social work, MSW, your master's of social work in social work and law. Still maybe tracking towards that legal field, then maybe, right? Maybe.
Well, I have always been interested in and fascinated by, and especially the intersection of social work and law
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, you have to. I want to get you connected to my friend Maheen Kaleem. Maheen's with an organization called Grant Makers for Girls of Color. She's an attorney. Yeah, awesome organization. I think you guys would dig each other. And
Oh, sorry about that.
okay, that's all good. It's all good. That's the show, baby. It's live. Things happen right here in Philanthropy and Focus on Philanthropy and Focus. But we'll get you connected to Maheen at some point. Grant Makers for Girls of Color. We
I'd
met.
love
Yeah, when we met, when I was doing some more education learning at the Institute for Nonprofit Practice, I was the only person who was not like in the work, so to speak. I'm a consultant to folks, right? But most of the folks I met with, were inside of organizations doing the work. And Maheen has, had been on the show. She came back and did something with me for the nonprofit resource hub. So there's a lot that you guys I think would connect on and get connected on. But I see then you were at Adelphi, the Center for Nonprofit Leadership, which I've hung out with that group for a little bit. There was, used to go visit with them. In fact, one of your colleagues, I think, who I think is, probably more than a colleague, because you got a lot in common, is our friend Renee Daniel Flagler.
it.
And Renee, I think, might have put me on to the team at Adelphi. And then you also got your Master's of Public Administration in Nonprofit Management from NYU, the Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service. So yeah, you bounced around. You got. I might have had the dates out of order, but you've been. I mean, you're always learning.
I liked school.
Yeah.
I was, once I found my path, I was, you know, I was on a mission to learn everything.
Lifelong learner, 100%. I know it. I know it. Yeah, I get that. I think that's what we all need to be. And it's certainly, as people who are in the nonprofit space, it's about that. It's about making the connections and bringing knowledge to other people, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a big part of it for sure, for sure.
sure.
So we're going to go to a quick break. We come back. I want to talk a little bit more about your journey. Now the physical journey, right? You get out to here at Long Island when you start with EAC Network. And then we're going to get into, where you go from there and then how you end up back here leading the organization. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody. Philanthropy Focus. Neela and Tommy D in the attic. Right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
So I mentioned a few people, and I probably mentioned on this show that I plan on doing a TV show. We're going to do it on public access and things like that. So I want to just share with you, I literally do this show at the top of my house, just below the roof in the attic. And I could prove it because a kid was just up here knocking on my desk trying to get on the show. I mean, it's a child he's one of my children, but I go, dude, you can't be on the show. He goes, I'm the nonprofit sector connector. And I go, dude, go downstairs. That's the reality of what it is like. That's what this is. So maybe it's time for me to leave the attic. It's time to fly. All right. So the organization is EAC Network. Go to the website, everybody. I will share it when we go to a break again, but go to eac-network.org. Before we even get into some more conversation with Neela, got to shout out Alyssa White. Alyssa, appreciate you. Right up to the end of the, right before we went live, Alyssa's making sure everybody was in the right seats on the ship, so to speak. Seats on the bus, seats in the attic, whatever. But Alyssa, thank you. Chris Kelly, again, I mentioned Chris earlier. Chris runs development for you. He's part of the development team. Is that right?
Yep.
So he
Chris
and I.
is an amazing human being. I got to tell you, since we're talking about it,
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate and grateful. We have amazing people, certainly both doing the services and the programs, but even on, the administrative side, just very hardworking, very committed to the mission of the work that we do. Right.
I love that. I love it. And thank you for saying that. And again, being somebody who owns an employee benefits agency, shout out Vanguard Benefits, shout out my team over there. And, we're constantly in these conversations about attracting and retaining talent. We're constantly in these conversations about becoming an employer of choice. And that's, I think, it is our assets, our most valued assets are our people. And we got to remember that. However, mission goes like this. Our mission is to foster a more compassionate and just society. We're a network of vital programs and resources that ensures every person has the opportunity to achieve a better life. We empower communities. We assist with access to complex service systems, and we care for individuals and families in needs. And, I'm sorry, but isn't that what we're supposed to be doing here, man? Like,
It is.
isn't that like a society? I don't know. That sounds like what we're supposed to. However, I argue this all the time. If it wasn't for nonprofit organizations, the empowering communities, assisting access, right, and caring for individuals, oftentimes doesn't happen. It is the people who run, lead, and are on the administrative team, from the man or woman who's cleaning the office to the person at the C level. Those are the people who are making it.
I mean, the fact is that the work that we're doing is vital, right? People need these services. They need this assistance, right? And if they don't get it, if they don't have it, quite frankly, whether it's EAC Network or any of our partners in this sector, right? The work that we're doing is really helping people to move forward with their lives. And by moving forward, that's how they are part of our economy. That's how they are part of our communities. That's how we move forward progress, right? That's how we get things done in the world, right?
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
It's our peers, it's our employees, it's our labor force, it's our neighbors, it's our parents,
Yes.
It's our kids.
Everyone you know is fighting a battle you know nothing about.
I love that phrase.
Kind always. I love that. That's Robin Williams. I love it. I say it all the time. You know, when we had this event yesterday, it was all about like choose you and reboosting and revitalizing and Philanthropy Network in New York. When we had the unconference, it was about that. It's about that whole oxygen mask thing, which has become cliche, but it's real. Like those things are real. Like take care of you. And I'm not speaking to just all of you. I'm talking to Tommy D as well. Like, guy, pay attention to yourself. You know, you need that. All right, let's go back a second. We go back, we go forward, we go back, we go forward.
That's great.
Welcome.
My brain works too.
Good. See, it's a beautiful brain. That's what my coach tells me. So, so here's what we do. You said when you first came out to Long Island, you were working at EAC. In what capacity?
So I was working in the supervised visitation programs, and I was creating the Long Island Parenting Institute, which is a program to provide education to parents of young children and teens. And, you know, we used to say that, you know, children don't come with a manual, right? So just this idea of taking the time to learn and to pay attention to and to understand best practices, and also to help families who were in conflict or perhaps justice involved to really achieve certain goals and meet milestones.
Yeah. I mean, my father-in-law is notorious for saying that you didn't come with an owner's manual when he was talking to my wife and her brother. But I'm in it, man. I'm living this, and I'm still trying to figure out who Tommy D is. So the fact that I procreated 4 other human beings, and I'm still trying to work through me, man. So, but I think we all are, man. We're working progress.
Right?
Wet cement, wet clay, man. We're trying to figure it out. So I love the fact that goes back to the education and the learning. When you're part of creating that, we don't know what the heck we're doing as parents, man. I get it. That's a spectrum like any other spectrum. Some people got it all figured out. No, they don't. But some people but some people are further down the line than others. But I'm telling you, man, I'm constantly, you know, certainly when you have kids with different abilities, or maybe you got a little bit of the ADHD brain in the house, like certainly one in the attic, but yeah, like you might have one in other parts of the house. And it's about, you know, understanding that and how to relate and how to support those things. So, you know, we don't
how you know that it's okay that you feel crazy some days, right? Like you're not alone. This is exactly what happens. And you're tomorrow could be better, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow will always be better.
Absolutely. 100%. Now you're going to make me sing from Annie. Tomorrow. I've never sung this much like in a whole season of this show. And I've done like in the first segment and the second segment, we're singing a bunch.
You found your voice.
I found my voice. I'm going to take singing lessons. I've been threatening the world with that. And the world will be like, no, thank you, because you're killing us with that voice already. So here's so you're out there, you're doing this Parent Institute, right? And then you end up leaving at some point. Where'd you go?
So I got pregnant, and my baby came early. And so I needed to just sort of my life and my priorities all changed overnight. And my son's great. He's amazing. He's 16. He's a beast. He's wonderful. I'm so grateful. But, you know, it was a rough go for a while. And so I did some part-time work, and I did some consulting, and then I ended up going to Adelphi, and I ran their continuing ed for social work department. So really putting together trainings and certificate programs. And the best part about that job for me was meeting nonprofits across the island, because I met everybody, and I met some of the leadership, but I met the social workers, I met the staff, right? And so I was able to build a lot of great relationships there, and I got trained. I had so much, I've learned a little bit of so many things, right? So then I left there when I had my second child, and decided I missed working in organizations, right? Like I didn't really want to work at a university. That's not, I was too far removed from, by this time I was a little bit, done from the clinical work, right? I was a little burnt out from that, but I miss working in organizations, right? I like social justice. I believe in social justice. I like the work that nonprofits do. So it took a while. I had 2 babies at home, and it was a challenging period of time, but I ended up getting involved in a local anti-bias task force in Brookhaven. I started to meet people. I ended up so Girls Inc. had been established, but without leadership, right? It just sort of was living, right? It was sort of an entity. And there was a woman who had been hired as an ED who brought me on as a board member, and then she resigned. So she was there for like a very short period of time. And I transitioned into the ED, and that was really, it was amazing, right?
Wait, one second. You went there to be a board member?
Yes.
So sometimes
of an organization that had been founded for a couple of years, but had really not been active, right?
Yeah.
Like they had really struggled to operationalize the work, right? And so it was just starting, and I ended up taking the reins, and it was a crazy time because we had no money, right? We were an organization with no money, really, and trying to make things happen. And it was an amazing time. It was a great time to be a girl. So I was able to really grow the work and grow the organization and build some infrastructure. I had amazing people around me. And then I was, including Renee, by the way.
She's incredible. Yep.
And then I was like recruited to the Red Cross, and it was a little bit of a divergence, but it was a little bit of like, how do you not take this opportunity?
Yeah.
With the Red Cross, right? It was just it felt so, it just felt massive, right? Yeah. And so, and at that point, Girls Inc. was in great shape, right? I wasn't necessarily looking to leave at all. I was, you just
go, I just got this set up. We're in our stride now, man. Let's go.
Yeah, it was amazing, right? There was so much momentum and so much great stuff, and it was heartbreaking, bittersweet, really, to leave. But it was also a great opportunity, and I loved being at the Red Cross. I learned so much. The organization itself was great to me, right? Gave me a lot of support. I was part of their internal leadership program. There was a lot of great opportunity, but at the end of the day, a lot of that opportunity would mean leaving.
Yeah.
Right. It would mean leaving Long Island. And I wasn't doing that. Right. This is my home. This is all my roots are here. My kids are here. My community is here. It took me a long time to find friends out here, and now I have them. And I wasn't leaving my family.
Yeah, no kidding. Of course. Yeah.
No.
So is that, so I want, first of all, we drop in this name, Renee Daniel Flagler, who's the current executive director of Girls Inc. of Long Island.
Fabulous.
We love Renee. I mean, they actually have, full disclosure. I don't know if this is not CNBC. I don't know why I got to give you full disclosure, but full disclosure, they're our client. We do the benefits for Girls Inc. And I have been known to show up and scoop a bunch of Italian ices. They had a program last summer for, golf. It was a golf. I'm trying to think.
My daughter did it.
Oh, she did it? Where was? I'm trying to think of where I drove out to. I drove to Huntington. I drove to my dad's place in Huntington, Ralph's Italian Ices, New York Avenue. Tell me no Tommy D. I don't know if that'll work. Give it a shot. But when I was, and then I brought the we did first. They had the middle school girls, and then they had the high school girls like a week later. And actually, one of my daughters just joined the golf team at her high school, so it's kind of a fun thing. They had a cool event on right around Father's Day. We couldn't pull it off because of my schedule, but I golf.
I couldn't either.
A Top Golf, where Yeah. So wanted to do that. So, listen, you can't do it all, but we love Renee. We love Girls Inc. Strong, smart, and bold. Strong, yeah, hard. Strong, smart, and bold. I love that. I think I got a lot of Girls Inc. t-shirts and stuff. But so there's a lot of things I'm writing down. Burnout, moms in profession, like, because you brought that up, and then internal leadership. These are some things I do. These are themes that are coming up for me. Hopefully we'll have a chance to go back to them. We are going to go to break. It happens a lot, but we go to a break. You come back. We're leaving the Red Cross and we're going somewhere else, right?
Yes, we are.
Let's just keep them on the edge of their seat. We'll be right. Yes. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Listen, if you don't want to hear me sing, you can listen to Brendan Levy sing. That's my Uncle Brendan singing that theme song that we wrote together, and he sings. And I actually saw his band. They played out. They have, listen to this, Neil. They have a group called, back in the 90s, they had a record deal, and they were called The Goods, right? But since they're old men now, they now call themselves Damaged Goods. So
my gosh.
Isn't that great?
That's great. I love it.
That's fun. We saw them at Docks out in Island Park on Saturday night. Good time. But thank you, Uncle Brendan, for writing that song. All right, so let's jump into this. First of all, I was just sharing the website, EAC-network.org, right? That is your destination from the journey you and I have been taking for the last 19, 20, 25 minutes. That's where we end up at this point. But I noticed as soon as so John's Crazy Socks made EAC Network socks. Shout out to Mark and John. Love those guys.
They are the best. They are the best, and those socks are so adorable. And
I love them. I gotta get some pairs of those. I'm thinking, shout out to Carol Cronin, shout out to Mark and John Cronin. We need some Tommy D nonprofit sector connector socks. Let's talk about it. All right, we got to work that out. You get to this now. You're at Red Cross. You could have continued, like you said, down the leadership track. However, that takes you off the island. Really not part of the equation for you. No. What happens next?
So I was rolling along. I was doing it, right? I loved my job. It was COVID, and I saw that EAC Network was hiring for a new leader. And I'll tell you that many, many years ago when I left, I've always stayed in touch with people I worked with at EAC. I've always followed the organization. I think the organization has always done amazing work. I came here very intentionally when I came here 20 years ago. So the opportunity to throw my hat in the ring was just too great, right? Yeah. So I did. Yeah. And it was a long, lengthy process, and I was very grateful to get here. And, I was very frank, in my interview process. They were like, what is your 6 to 9 month plan? And, I had in some ways been thinking about it for a long time.
Right.
Sort of always wanted to come here, right?
Like maybe 20 years. Maybe you'd been thinking about it that long.
Maybe I sort of always, in so many ways, EAC does all the things that have always moved me. Really, really. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It does so much work, but it does so much incredible work, and it's in all the areas that have always been, all over my scatterbrained mind, right?
Sure.
Like my
Sure.
vast interests. This has always spoken to it.
So I know there's like 110 social service programs, but what can you break it down to me in maybe like pillars or something like?
Yes. So EAC is a large social service organization. We break our programs down into 5 main pillars, right? So the first is children, youth, and the incapacitated. This is working with children who've been abused, minor victims of human trafficking, and then individuals who might be elderly and unable to care for themselves, and then we would become their guardian. We also provide supervised visitation for families in conflict and a variety of other programs. We have mentoring programs for kids in foster care, summer camps. Then we have our family and community. So this is where we do a lot of really community-based work. And one of my favorite things to talk about is that we install car seats in people's cars. Right?
I remember that.
Yeah, and we work with local precincts, and we do car seat events where we teach you how to install your car seat properly. And if you need a car seat, we will get you a car seat. And our partnership with the police departments is that if you get pulled over and your child's not in a car seat because you don't have a car seat or because you can't afford one, they will actually give you a car seat. Like that's the work that we're really fighting for. We do some driver safety classes. And then also if you get in trouble for something and you have to do community service, you might get referred to EAC, and
really,
we'll set you up with community service and volunteer projects. So we have lots of great partners across the island, actually, just from that program alone, right?
All right, so there's an area of opportunity here, and I must step in when there's an area of opportunity. Even if you haven't gotten yourself in trouble and you're not required to do community service, do you have opportunities for people to volunteer, Neela?
So at EAC, there's always opportunities to volunteer. I would say that our community service programs tend to be reserved for people who are involved in the system in some way, shape, or form. But we, as an agency, have tons of volunteer opportunities, which I'm happy to get to as we go through.
Got it. Well, I want to. So that we're only up. That was number 2. So we got.
Yeah, no, I know. I could talk for hours. So you got to keep me in check.
I will. I'm trying to keep me in check. This is a tough task. So I want to get into. We'll get to it after we go through these pillars. But I want to talk about alternative to incarceration, and I want to focus on the human trafficking tragedy that goes on in the work that you all are doing around that. So number 3.
So number 3 are programs with seniors. So we operate 4 senior centers in Nassau County. We provide Meals on Wheels. We do some in-home respite care. We do some nutrition programs. We have a small program providing nutritional meals to people, vulnerable individuals. So that's our seniors and nutrition. Then we have our largest bucket of work, which is really in the criminal justice and behavioral health space. So this covers our full footprint. So I should say that our programs are all 5 boroughs, Rockland County, Nassau, and Suffolk. And then we have some clients that, scatter around outside of that. But
where do you,
this is
your main head, I hear that catchment point's rather large, but your main HQ headquarters is Long Island, though?
Yes, it's in Garden City.
All right, okay. And then you have like outposts, like offices around these other markets?
Yeah, so we have about 27 locations, but a lot of our programs are also housed within like the courts or in various other entities, right? So like Hempstead Works, for example, which I'll get to. So criminal justice, behavioral health. So we do things like alternatives to incarceration. So when people get arrested and perhaps have some kind of mental health needs, some substance abuse needs, some kind of a diversion court, we would help work with them. We work with people in reentry. So coming out of incarceration and getting set up with programs and services, to achieve success. And what does success look like? It means not getting in trouble again. It means finding a path forward, getting some treatment, and finding a better way, a healthier way to live. We have a treatment program in Nassau County, and we also operate Health Home, which is providing in-home services to individuals who have multiple diagnoses, and oftentimes including a justice impacted connection. And then finally, our fifth bucket, our fifth pillar is vocational services, which is really woven through everything that we do. We just know that for people to make their lives better and to achieve, the next stages, they need to have purpose, right? Yeah. And so vocation looks like a lot of different things for people. For some people it's a job, some people it's training, some people it's, getting through all their appointments, but it's really about having purpose and being able to wake up and say, I have something to do today, right? So that's how we do all this work. So we work with, I know I keep talking, but I can't do a 30-second elevator speech.
This is perfect. We had 60 minutes. Now we got about, but we started with 60. But no, that's what it is. It's a big story to tell,
It's a big story to tell. We touch like 60,000 individuals every year. But if you think about their families and their communities, and, chances are somebody is being touched by work that EAC Network is doing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, there's so many connections and relationships that I want to make. I mean, I'm meeting with a colleague and friend of mine at 11 o'clock right after this show. Her name is Bobby Brown, not Bobby Brown from New Edition, but Bobby Brown from Young New Yorkers. And they have an alternative to incarceration program there, or diversion program around the arts. And they have the really cool arts programs that they do. I want you to meet my friend, if you don't know him already, Angel Rodriguez and his team. He's the founder of Avenues for Justice, came out of the Lower East Side of New York City, and they are an ATI program. And I've been in the courts with them, and I got to go back because it was during COVID, so didn't get a lot of access. But they have run a really important organization for like 50 years. There was more names. There's a lot. We got to talk when we're not like live at the show. This is my challenge. I'm like trying to network with you while I'm supposed to be running the show.
I know. I'm so excited.
Welcome to my brain, man. It's a tough thing here. So all of these incredible programs, there was two standouts that you wanted to make a point of. So let's start. We'll go to a break in a couple minutes, but let's start on those and let's really drive some of that home.
Sure. I think that one of the things we talked about was really highlighting the work that EAC Network does in this criminal justice behavioral health space, which is something that I think that we didn't talk about very much, partly because it's not like we are looking for clients. A lot of our clients come to us because they're referred to us through the system. But I think it's very important, especially because we're talking about public safety all the time, right? So we talk about public safety, and the general answer is oftentimes sort of the generally accepted answer historically has been more police, right? Yeah. And I'm married to a police officer. I'm very supportive of I work with law enforcement all day, every day. I'm very grateful to all of that, but I also think as part of a response to public safety, we have to be working from the ground up. It's working with individuals and people and communities and making sure that people have access to resources, that they have access to mental health, that they have access to case management. Life is hard, and some people need a little hand holding. And I would say that, that's actually the thread for us here at EAC. All of our programs have grown and evolved because we recognize that people need help navigating systems, right? And when you come out of a justice system, trying to get all these services is very, very hard to do. And I'm very proud of our work. I would say that we've been in it, I think, from the early years as an agency. And in fact, I think that EAC is considered one of the pioneers in this work from early on, from some of the people who have been here historically. And I would shout out our Chief Operating Officer, Tania Peterson Chandler, who's been with us for 27 years, but has been in this space for a great part of her career and has really helped to build our programming, especially in that space. But for EAC Network, so we have a long history in that world. And so I'm very excited to have the opportunity to talk about it and share that we're doing this great work.
Yeah. As you're saying that, and I just pulled up your website to see Tania. Hi, Tania. You don't see me, but I see a picture. Tania Peterson Chandler, COO, Chief Operating Officer. There's a whole spinoff of this program that I should just talk to Tania for an hour about what that program looks like. So that becomes like what this show really is, because I think that's my I think, no, I know that's my mission, is to continue to tell these stories. As I say, I like to help.
And along with Tania, we have staff members who are doing the direct service who
Yeah.
have also been with us for decades, right?
Yeah.
Like they've really been with us for so long. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of expertise and relationship and history for a lot of folks at EAC Network in this space.
I want to do it. So I have a lot of ideas, as you can probably tell already. But one of the newest ideas is where, and I was telling my friend Lisa Birch at Epic Long Island, we had dinner, a handful of us the other night. Dr. Chris Rosa, Yolanda Urbano Gross, Suzette Gordon over at SEO Family Services. It was really cool. We actually, we have you coming to the next one, even though you don't know it yet. But we got you. Shout out to the Nonprofit Resource Hub, Allison LaFolita, our executive director, Kellyanne Serini, the whole deal. Gang, you just stay with me. There's a lot to shout out. We don't have time for all that. But just meeting with these folks the other night, and I said to Lisa, I'm going to bring a film crew, and we're going to do a tour of Epic, and it's going to be a show, and it's going to be a 30-minute, it'll be 8 hours or 6 hours of me hanging around, right? And then it's going to be like a 30 to 40-minute show on YouTube about the organization. Love to do the same thing at EAC Network. I mean, look, I only got 50 years left, Neil. I got to run fast, man. I'm trying to do a lot of things, man. Trying to do a lot. That's it. Lots to do. I'm like that guy, the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland, you know? He's running all over the place. That's what I feel like.
It's one of our phrases is more to do. There's always more to do.
There's always more to do. Keep making an impact. Talk about more to do. We got to take a break. When we come back, I want to hear about the work around human trafficking. Again, each of these we could spend an hour on, but we're really just doing a high level, letting people know. The ATI stuff, alternative incarceration, this criminal justice stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Tania. Thank you, team of Tania. Thank you, all the people who are doing this work, because people make mistakes, gang. Okay. People are in environments where it didn't seem like a mistake. It seemed like what we do here. And then all of a sudden their life is over. That doesn't work. We got to talk about that. That's a whole nother show. When we come back, let's talk human trafficking. Let's talk about what do you need? What's upcoming? Where do you need me to show up? And who do you want me to take a picture with? That's a strange thing, Tommy. You're very bold. Yes, I am. We'll be right back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Phocus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Man, when you're the nonprofit sector connector, you know a lot of folks in the nonprofit sector, specifically here on Long Island. Shout out to my friend Erica Floresca, the only person ever to come on Philanthropy and Focus, lived through an earthquake with me, and neither one of us mentioned that we were doing a live show and there was an earthquake happening. So I don't know that that'll be the only time it ever happens in my life that I do a show during an earthquake, but it was the only time it's happened so far. So speaking of Erica, speaking of the Long Island Children's Museum, my friend Nyrikia White, checking in on LinkedIn saying, I love EAC. We love you, Nyrekia. Hearts, right? Nyrekia. I met Nyrekia originally when she was with Girls Inc. of Long Island. And
That's how I know Nyrekia. She was one of our volunteer, our young volunteers, our young professionals group, and so
she's the best. She's absolutely the best. We went together when she went to Little Flower. Then she moved over to Girl Scouts of Suffolk County, and Erica Floresca, just had an awesome opportunity to get Nyrekia on her team. What a win for everybody.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tammy Severino. Tammy, I love you too over there. And obviously the team out of Little Flower as well. I love the whole sector, gang. But what's funny about this too is Nyrekia is checking in on LinkedIn. We stream on LinkedIn, Twitch, X, Facebook, YouTube. There's probably more that I don't remember. If I didn't say Twitch, but Twitch is like a gamers. There's like gamers listening to Tommy D talk about nonprofits. You know, who knew it? Who knew? Not me. I didn't know. All right, let's get into this piece about what your organization is focused on. Let's set the stage, because there's a nonprofit that I connected with in the past called I Empathize. And the thing with them is they focus on the same human trafficking thing. And I mean, this is an absolute tragedy and a dilemma. And you're telling me it's happening right here on Long Island, right? If it's folks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's absolutely happening here on Long Island. Long Island is a very busy region in this space for a variety of reasons. But Suffolk County in New York is actually our number places us number 4 in the state in terms of activity in this space countywide. So it's terrible. It's pervasive. It's insidious. And so EAC's work in this space is that we are the provider of safe harbor services in Suffolk County. So our work is primarily funded to work in Suffolk County. We actually operate the Child Advocacy Center in Suffolk County, which is where children who have been abused or suspected of abuse will come for a multidisciplinary team investigation, right? So we partner with the DA's office and the medical providers and law enforcement to get all the information in the most trauma-informed way to approach the child, to gather this information, and to help try and keep this child as safe as possible. Yeah. So through that program, we started doing the Safe Harbor work, which is working with minor victims of human trafficking. And so it's primarily focused on sex trafficking, although the program is around trafficking. Yeah. But what we're seeing in our work is more around the sex trafficking piece. And the thing that I think is most important for us to talk about is how pervasive it is, right? I just did a presentation yesterday with a few other of our partners in this space. And the first thing that our former police commissioner, Jerry Hart, shared was a heat map of where this is happening. And it's happening everywhere, right? So the work that we're doing is that as children are identified, everybody is doing their part, right? Law enforcement's doing their part. The district attorney's office is doing their part. But our work is focused on the child, right? Mm-hmm. And their recovery, and perhaps their family's recovery. But really, it's intense work. It is important work, and it's happening everywhere. And so my goal really is to make sure people know that the biggest avenue, the most dangerous avenue is online, right? Because that's, especially post-COVID, that's what people are using. And yeah, no, I have, especially as I was preparing for this presentation yesterday, I worked in this space many years ago, but I said I left that work because it's direct service work is very painful. Sure. So I immersed myself. And so I've been all over my kids this week, just reminding them. And it's because people will get to your kids, they'll reach them online and they'll engage them. They'll gain their trust, right? We talk about grooming, and it's so important. And they're absolutely vulnerable populations, right? Because predators will find victims. Sure. But it's important to know that any of our children, even if they're not in some sort of a vulnerable population, they may be in a vulnerable state today, right? On the day that somebody... Right.
Like in an episode, like episodic, right? Maybe that. Right. Sure.
And it's terrible, and it's happening under our noses, right? Sometimes they're being groomed and they're being engaged, and they're taking them away, but they're not always taking them away. Sometimes these kids are going out, and one of the things I pointed out yesterday is Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Most of them went to school every day, right? Like,
Right. So they weren't gone, but they were gone for maybe part of their week or whatever. Yeah.
it's so important to talk about that, right? Like
yeah.
that it looks very different today. It's not what it used to be. It's not
Sure.
our image of what it used to be. So EAC is very involved in this space. And so we work with survivors and help them to get access to programs and services and resources. We provide mentoring. By the way, that's one of our asks, right? Is that if anybody out there is interested, first of all, we do community education in the space around child abuse, around all kinds of issues around child safety in general, but certainly around child abuse, certainly around human trafficking. We provide education to schools, to families, to parents, to kids, to entities. You know, we think it's important to talk about, but also we are looking for mentors. So if you want to work with a young person and really help them to just re-find themselves and help them to sort of reestablish a newer, healthier, safer way of looking forward and to help give a young person hope, please let us know. There's so many opportunities.
How do they do that? Because we're running out of time. So how do they
go
connect?
to www.eac-network.org and click get involved and reach out to us. And I'm very accessible. We're very accessible on all social media platforms. And so find us, send us a message, find me, send me a message. I'm super easy to reach. We will connect you. We are looking for you. We want you.
In the last 30 seconds or so, anything upcoming that you need help on, any events, to shout that stuff out. What would the development?
Sure. We have our annual gala happening on October 9th. It's the Building Bridges Gala. Building Bridges means so much to us, and it's really about the work that we're doing and the communities that we're serving. It's a great event. Our keynote speaker is going to be Melinda Katz, and we are going to be honoring New York State Senator Monica Martinez, who has been a great supporter of our work and advocate for so much of the work that we're doing in the space of protecting children. So
I know Melinda Katz.
I'm very grateful to all of them.
I know District Attorney Katz for many years. I'm very connected to the Queens.
Is a great partner of EAC. We work with all the DA's offices and all of our partners in the justice involved space.
I love that. You know, I'm very connected. I don't know if you know this, to the team at the Queens Chamber of Commerce. I dropped Brendan Levy's name. But CEO Tom Gretsch is a very good friend of mine. So, you know, and I know Melinda for many years, you know,
she's our keynote.
I love it. So I would love to be there. So that event is October 9th, 2024, Garden City Hotel. I know that place well. That looks like a really, really special event. You see Melinda Katz, Monica Martinez. I'm excited about that. I'll make sure I'm there. All right. Really wonderful. Neela, we gotta go. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's how the show works, you know.
So fast.
You know, it's like the end. It's like that part in Mary Poppins, when Mary Poppins and they were at Uncle Albert's house, and the table is floating in the air, and I love to laugh, ha 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 ha, and they won't let the table come down until Mary Poppins says we have to go, and everybody got sad, and now I'm very sad, and the table's coming down, and we got to go. Neela, it was a pleasure. I'm so glad this happened.
Really a pleasure.
We're gonna do some fun things together, guys. Stay tuned. Coming up is Steve Fry's show, always Friday, the SMB guy. I'm your boy, the Nonprofit Sector Connector. Make it a great weekend. See you next week. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.